Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a first look guide on a new champ coming into the game, Sorcerer Supreme. She's a pretty cool champ. We're going to break down her abilities, how to use her synergies, her signature ability, and so much more. I also did a full video of her taking on the champion in 6.2.6. I'll leave a link down in the pinned comment if you want to check out that video. But yeah, we're going to basically take a look at her, see how she is. Remember, this is a first look guide, so I'm sure to miss a couple things, but usually my guides, I think, are pretty thorough, so let's get started. So let's quickly look at her passive abilities. She gains 70% less power from striking, being struck, or hitting the block, but she does gain 25% of her max power every 9 seconds, somewhat like Doctor Strange. Mystic Aspersion would be nice. She has a negative 370 physical resistance. She has plus 2100 to energy resistance, which is nice. Her basic attacks deals energy damage instead of physical, so this is very nice against champs like Korg, who have the thorns. She does not have to worry about that, much like Doctor Strange. So that's a pretty cool ability. Just got to keep in mind that her physical resistance is a little low, as we mentioned, so she's a little bit of a soft champ, but she does have some regeneration capabilities, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. She also has a unique passive ability called Blessings of the Realms. It's actually 3 different blessings that go throughout the fight. When she first starts the fight by default, she goes into something called Sidorak's Ferocity. You see that little orange circle just below her health bar. This lasts for 8 seconds, and it increases her attack and critical rate. Each blessing lasts for 8 seconds in a rotation. The next one is called Regador's Resolve, as you see right here. Regador's Resolve will give her increased armor rating and also give her a 30% perfect block chance, which is very nice. And then the next blessing is called Icon's Ingenuity. Basically, you steal 3% power per hit, and it returns 150% of the power stolen, so it's a nice little ability to basically keep the opponent from not gaining power too fast, and to basically give you a bit of a boost in power for yourself. So I mentioned there's 3 different blessings that change every 8 seconds. At the start of the fight, you always default to the Sidorak Ferocity blessing, but this can be changed with pre-fight abilities. I can actually pick the Regador or the Icon instead. That means in this case I picked Icon. I will start the fight with Icon. Also, if you want to change the blessings a lot quicker, you can do heavy attacks, which we'll see right here. So we do our first heavy attack, so we switch to Sidorak Ferocity. Second heavy attack switches it to Regador Resolve. Heavy attack again switches us to Icon Ingenuity. So that's a cool way to switch between blessings if you need one. Just remember that once you do switch, that timer will start for 8 seconds again. It always goes in the same order. It goes Sidorak, Regador, Icon. It's not random, so you can keep that in mind as well. And also remember, at the start of the fight, if you do not choose your pre-fight ability, it will always default to Sidorak Ferocity, which is the increased attack and crit rate. But you do have the ability to change your pre-fight to Regador and Icon per fight. It's not something you lose like Human Torch. So now we're going to talk about runic spells, special attacks, and how they work with blessings. The first thing you have to do is charge up your blessings by putting rune charges into them. You do this by using your special 1, special 2, special 3. First we'll show the special 1. When you do your special 1, it'll place 2 charges into your current blessing that is active, in this case the Icon. So I use my special 1, I get 2 charges. You only see 1 below the health bar. That's because one of the charges is used to do special abilities, which we'll talk about later. So you gotta remember, when you use your special 1, you get 2 rune charges in whatever blessing that is active. Now let's take a look at the special 2. So now we'll take a look at the special 2. Again, you get rune charges in whatever blessing is active. This time it's Regador's Resolve. I do the special 2, I get 3 charges, 2 are stored, and 1 is used for the actual special ability, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So now let's move on to the special 3. Now the special 3, you get rune charges as well, but it acts a little bit differently. The very first time you use the special 3 in a fight, you get a permanent rune charge in whatever blessing is active. In this case, it's Icon's Ingenuity. I use my special 3 for the first time. I will get 1 permanent charge that never expires for the rest of the fight. This is very, very important, and I'll explain a little bit. I'll explain why a little bit later. Any other special 3s that you do after the first one will give you 2 extra charges in whatever blessing is active at the time. Okay, so what do these actual charges do, and what's the benefit of actually charging them up? Well, let's take a look at that right now. So first, listen to this very carefully. When you use a Special 1, Special 2, or Special 3, you have the ability to do the extra effects from all the ruins, as long as they have charges. As long as you have a charge in the ruin, it will take one charge from that ruin and give you the special effect. So if I did a Special 1, for instance, and I had a charge in Sidorak, I had a charge in Ragador, and I had a charge in the Icon ruins, that means I would get 3 additional effects. Now, if I only had charges in the Ragador and the Icon, then I'd only get 2 effects. So you got to keep that in mind. It's not based on the special attack, it's based on how many charges you have in each ruin. So what do the ruins actually do? So let's take a look at that right now. So the first ruin we'll take a look at is the Ruins of Icon. When you have a charge in the Ruins of Icon, it will remove 1 charge from here, and you will place a slow debuff on the opponent. When that opponent has a slow debuff, they will not be able to evade or go unstoppable for 12 full seconds. This does not work if it's a class disadvantage, so keep that in mind. Now, I told you before, earlier in the video, if you do a Special 3 for the very first time, it will give you a permanent charge in a particular blessing. I did that in this particular fight against Champion. I did the charge in the Icon Ruins phase, so that means I have a permanent charge in the Icon's Ruin phase. That means I can constantly use any special and get a slow on the Champion, which is very useful for this fight. Now let's talk about the other 2 ruins. So now we'll take a look at the other ruins. We already talked about the Ruins of Icon, which gives you the slow. If you have a charge, a ruin charge in the Ruins of Sidorak, you can do an additional armor break for 12 seconds on the opponent, reducing the armor rating by -2100, and that is stackable. If you have a charge in the Ruins of Ragador, you can passively regenerate Sorcerer Supreme for 524 health over 12 seconds. While this is active, Sorcerer Supreme regenerates 75% of the damage she takes from blocked hits, which is great against champs like Korg or pounded on your block. You'll be able to regenerate some of that block damage. It's very useful for her because she's a little bit soft. So you gotta remember, anytime you have charges and anytime you do a special attack, you will get these bonus abilities. And don't get these confused with your passive blessings. These are something that happens only when you use your special attack and only when you have charges in those particular blessings. So let's move on to the next. So now we'll talk about the special attacks. I like the special one a lot. It's called the Aura of Silence. First off, you get 2 rune charges and whatever blessing is active at the time, but it also has some nullification abilities. When you use your special one, the very first hit will nullify one of the buffs, but then it will place a nullification aura around the character. As long as she's close to the opponent, they will start to lose their buffs every 0.75 seconds. Now we'll see this coming up here with good old Venom. I have my aura up. I'm going to get close to him. Now watch his buff start to disappear. Nullified, 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 nullified. See all those nullifications? That's because he's in close to her in the aura during that 10 seconds. So that's a pretty cool ability. Now we'll move on to the Special 3 just because it's going into that phase right now. The Special 3 is called the Supreme Verdict. As I mentioned before, the first time you use it in a fight, you get a permanent rune in the current blessing, which is very useful, so that rune will never be consumed. If you use it a second or third or fourth time, you just get 2 non-permanent runes instead. Also, your attack rating is increased by up to 7311 based on the stored runes. So the more rune charges you have, the more attack you're going to get. So this could be very nice after a Special 3. And finally, the Special 2, which we'll just talk about because it's not too exciting. It's called the Astral Slide. It'll give you 3 rune charges in your current blessing. After consuming runes, it pauses all rune effects until 5 seconds after this attack ends. That's not too exciting except for perhaps in the regeneration, because regeneration still happens while the effect is paused, so this special can be used to get even more healing out of the Ruins of Ragador. So if you have the Ruins of Ragador up and you do the Special 2 attack, you'll be able to regenerate a little bit more, so keep that in mind. So now we'll take a look at her SIG ability called the Ring of Oblivion. Gives Sorcerer Supreme gains up to 50% ability accuracy. Again, this is a SIG 200, so that's the maximum it can go. Also, the potency of her blessings is increased by 33%. Again, this is a SIG 200. So again, that's pretty nice. You know, that's going to be very useful. She's going to have a stronger blessings, and her ability accuracy will be higher. Now it says in the notes that her ability accuracy is already 100% chance to trigger, so what's the point of having an extra 50%? The point is, if the ability accuracy she gains in her signature ability is more useful for when she encounters buffs or opponents who will reduce it. So just thinking off the top of my head, Warlock's Infections, who basically reduces your abilities, maybe she can counter that more with her 50% ability accuracy. So we'll have to take a look how that really works in the future, but definitely the potency of Blessing is increased by 33%, will be very useful. So it looks like it's a nice signature ability, probably not one that's needed 100% to make her an awesome champ, but certainly will help her out. So let's take a look at her synergy bonuses. She's got one with the new Storm, rapidly gain a bar of power at the start of the fight, which would be very useful for her because she's a little bit slow on the power gain. She's got one with Doctor Strange and Supreme, gain passive prowess whenever a blessing activates, increasing special attack damage by 15%. These last until the end of the synergy member's next special attack and are capped at 3. That's pretty cool. I love extra damage. Then she got Mystic Arts with Dormammu, Voodoo, and Mordo. The nullification aura is paused during any special attack. Dr. Voodoo gets special attack 2, can convert up to 3 of any buff instead of only converting Lois, is that how you say it? Then the Dormammu, all effects that power drain the opponent also deal a burst of energy damage for 15% of Dormammu's attack. Mordo, 3 buffs last an additional 4 seconds, which is nice. Then she's got one with Archangel, Nebula, and Champion. All champions gain a +4 block penetration, which is very nice. And then one with all the Hulk-type characters. Stun debuffs inflict on the opponents last 25% longer. So those are some pretty good synergies by the looks of it. Looks like she's not going to be totally useless in that regard. So let's move on from here. Okay, my final thoughts about the Sorcerer Supreme. First off, she's super fun to play. I really enjoy playing her. She moves really well. She's got some cool abilities. I like her special attacks. I like trying to figure out the runes and the blessings, trying to make that all work. It's just very, very fun to play. I love the ability that she has, the slow debuff, which is really nice to stop evaders and unstoppable, even though keep in mind that this does not work on a class disadvantage. She can nullify, which is cool. She can armor break. She doesn't hit super hard, but she hits better when some armor breaks are up or after her special 3 where she gets an attack increase. She got some cool synergies. Again, the nullify is nice, and the aura of nullification, which is pretty cool in the special 1. She's a well-rounded champ. I wouldn't say she's a master at anything. She just kind of has all these abilities thrown at her, which makes it kind of cool. Again, she has no immunities, so she might be a little rough if you're going to be running suicides, because her regeneration isn't that great, and she's not immune to anything, so you got to keep that in mind. Is she one of the top Mystic champs? Is she God tier? I hate saying that. I think she's really cool. At first glance, at first play, I still think Magic, Clairvoyance, Doom are better. But she has her uses, and I don't want to say that she's not as good yet just because she's such a new character to the game. You know, someone might find some awesome way to play her and make her the top god tier champ. For now, I don't think she is. I think she's a solid player. I think she's a lot of fun. She's definitely a champion 6.2.6 killer, and I'll show you a full video on this if you link down to the comments. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Again, she's a lot of fun for me, and I really enjoyed this video. It took me a while to do. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you guys soon, and see you on the flip side.
Target identified. Analysis complete. Please subscribe.